Hello, Dr. Dave returns. I got a little thing to tell you here about D.B. Cooper and Frank Lee Morris. Now, I had some notes on this. I wanted to quote from a passage that a guy wrote, but I can't find him, so I'm going to tell you from memory. There is Bonehead on Facebook, and his site is about D.B. Cooper. And I made a comment on his site that Frank Morris was D.B. Cooper, which, for those of you who don't know, I met Frank Morris in Mexico City a year before he did the D.B. Cooper jump, and he told me all that he was going to do it. And he showed me a comic book, a Dan Cooper comic book, and told me that's the name he was thinking about using. And then after he made the jump, at another time in Mexico when I was down there during the summer, he told me all about the jump, the fall, tumbling through the air, the crash landing at the end. If you want all the details on that, it's in my book, My Dance with the Zodiac Killer. And if you look carefully, right here is a picture of D.B. Cooper, and there's a clue on there. There's the airplane. It says a couple of things here. That right there, that's the letter that Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, the little note they wrote to the warden of Alcatraz prison after they escaped. It says, "Ha ha ha, we made it." And the FBI confirmed that it is their signatures on there and their writing. Now they can confirm that, but they can't confirm that D.B. Cooper's writing was the same guy. Yeah, they can, but they don't want you to know about it, okay? Down here it says, "The system that beat the system," because Frank Morris considered himself this brainiac, genius, serial killer, necrophiliac with his two girlfriends here, considered himself to have come up with a system that beats the system. And, you know, I hate to say it, but the guy lived a lifetime, never had to work an honest day in his life, and he made his living by killing people and robbing them. And his sexual fantasy was all about their suffering. And him and the Anglin brothers, who, you know, I really think he considered John Anglin to be his girlfriend. And there's a book that he wrote, and I'm going to show you a picture of it when I can remember where I put it. It's called Ha Ha Ha. Now, interesting that Frank would write a book called Ha Ha Ha, when on this note that I showed you right here, that I put on the front of here, it says Ha Ha Ha. And he even made the writing look similar so that you would know that he was copying it off of here. The book is about the life and times of him and his girlfriends, the Anglin sisters, the Anglin brothers, you know, robbing and killing people. They don't give you any details about killing, and he doesn't give you any of the names of the people that he makes everything up, you know, but it's all about robberies and thefts, one after another, which was the kind of life that he lived. He just left out the killing part. That book, imagine this guy being a wanted serial killer, hijacker, and all the other things that he did, fugitive, and being able to get a book written and published. That's amazing. But you know, when you have a genius IQ, you can come up with just about anything, I guess. What I wanted to tell you about was this guy who has this Facebook site, Facebook page where I made a comment that Frank Morris was the Zodiac Killer, and the guy sends me a private message and says, "Frank Morris was not the Zodiac Killer, and we already know your story, and stay off of our page." Well, for you, bonehead, I made this video because I want people to know the truth. See, he gives you these reasons why, but he didn't tell me there, but I found it in a thread where he had commented on someone else's thread. And basically, he's got two things that he's really using. One is that D.B. Cooper was much taller than Frank Morris, and that D.B. Cooper's skin was darker than Frank Morris. Well, I got some news for you. Frank wore heel lifts when he did the D.B. Cooper jump. And I had forgotten about this, but I remember him telling me that he threw the bomb in Lake Merwin. He made a joke about flushing it down a toilet because in the old days, TV shows, whenever there was a bomb involved, they would throw it in the toilet and flush it, and it was supposed to deactivate the bomb. That's all in my book. Okay? After he told me that he threw the bomb in Lake Merwin, and by the way, it was a couple of officers on the Tampa Police Department who asked me to ask him, what he did with that bomb, because they never could find it. And Frank told me that he threw it in Lake Merwin, and I asked him, did you throw anything else out of the airplane? And he goes, yeah, them damn things in my shoes. And I go, what was in your shoes? And he goes, no, just some things I had in my shoes. And I kind of like wrote it off there. I didn't really get it from there on. But then when I see this guy's thread with this big difference in height, yeah, he had heel lifts in his shoes, and he took them out and he threw them out of the airplane. Now, in my research of the D.B. Cooper jump, I come across several different things where they found things that they thought might have been related to the jump, and nothing of much significance, although I think they said they found the parachute, that it was Frank buried it somewhere, I don't know. But one casual little mention of someone having found a shoe lift, a heel lift, out there in the woods somewhere around the area where Frank jumped. Okay, so that all makes sense. Frank wore heel lifts, and they had to be tall to get him from 5'8" to 6'1". They had to be, really thick heel lifts, and he acted, when he told me about it, like they were really uncomfortable, because he said, those damn things in my shoes. And he mentioned something about part of a disguise or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And then the other thing, as I said, that this guy who, wrote this thread, this bonehead with the Facebook site, who probably has his own pet suspect for D.B. Cooper, he says that D.B. Cooper's skin color was darker than Frank Morris. Well, the FBI files on Frank Morris, and you can look at the FBI files. I have videos on them that it tells you in there that he was 50% Hispanic. He claimed he was Spanish, but I'm pretty sure he was Mexican descent, because the Anglin brothers, who worked fields in Florida, the FBI also said that they may be part Hispanic or Mexican. And that all makes sense, because there's a lot of crops in Florida, and a lot of Mexican people go there to work the crops, and other Hispanic countries too. And people from other Hispanic countries also. Now, I have been married to 2 different Mexican girls from Mexico, okay? And I can tell you a thing about Mexican people. They're just like Oriental people. If they stay out of the sun, they can turn as white can be. But they only have to get out in the sun a little bit, and they get brown, and that brown lasts for a long, long time. Well, when Frank Morris was in jail, which is the pictures that they're looking at, he was locked up all the time. He couldn't get any sun, so his skin was white. Now, when he did the D.B. Cooper jump, was after he escaped from Alcatraz, and he spent most of his time out of doors with the Anglin brothers searching for victims that browned up his skin. Everything fits. And all the other things that it was, I made some notes on this one time. I told you before that Frank Morris was in the right place at the right time to have been D.B. Cooper. He had the IQ to pull it off. He was a methodical planner. Frank told me he spent 1 year planning that jump. And that story is in my book, My Dance with the Zodiac Killer. It's $20. Yes, people complain about the price, but I'm here to tell you, you're lucky I'm alive to write this book, okay? Because these guys try to kill me at least 40 times, and I figure because I'm still here, you ought to give me a little bit of cash for it. And I told you that the FBI came here to my office, put some pictures in front of me, and told me that they suspected Frank Morris as being D.B. Cooper, that was their prime suspect, but they could never find him to question him, and even if they did, they would have to arrest him for the breakout from Alcatraz. There's a whole chapter in here on the escape from Alcatraz, based on what Frank told me about the escape. He told me about the whole thing, digging their way out of there and everything. And the actual escape itself fits pretty much perfectly with what Mythbusters recreated. So that'll give you an idea, and then you can read the rest of it in the book. Frankie boy, you jumped out of an airplane with a sack of money that you couldn't do anything with. I know where that money is at. It's buried in the ground, and Frank said he put a curse on it. I was thinking seriously about digging it up, but I remembered a couple weeks ago he told me he put a curse on it, and he said, I know you don't believe in curses, so I'm going to tell you what kind of curse it was. And I said, okay, what kind of curse was it? Thinking to myself, here comes another one of his adventurous stories. He said, you ever hear of the curse that were put on the mummies and the gold and everything was in the pyramids? And I said, yeah. And he talked about people dying years after having gone in there and opening the mummies' tombs and that kind of thing from really strange disease. And he goes, yeah, you ever hear of mercuric oxide? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, that's what the curse is. So I'm assuming that if someone does dig up his money, they're going to need a hazmat suit, okay? Because that money, I'm assuming, is in bags of some type, waterproof bags, and it's laced with mercuric oxide. One more thing that makes it that much more difficult to get law enforcement to help me dig it up, because now they're going to know it's hazardous and they're not going to want to go near it. You know, that money may stay in the ground forever, but as long as I'm alive, I'm going to keep finding a way to get it dug up so that people will know where it's at. I even sent an email to the airline and said, hey, I know where your money's at. They didn't answer me. I sent a copy of this book to the Vallejo Police Department and told them, don't waste a lot of time doing your DNA tests on just anybody, because here's the guys you need to make it match. No answer. So in the meantime, you YouTube viewers, my subscribers, you have the exclusive access to the truth about this whole thing. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers started out killing people in 1947 or thereabouts, and that was when they did the Moonlight murders of Texarkana. Frank was the Phantom. He told me about it. That's also in this book. And they just kept right on killing people all the way up until probably about 2000, somewhere between 2009 and 2013. I'm figuring that's when Frank Morris died. And I think that the Anglin brothers took his body up there and buried him beside a Donna Lass in Lake Tahoe. And I know where that grave is at, but nobody wants to listen to me, so it'll just stay that way until law enforcement gets interested. I don't think they really want to know, They don't want to have to do all that work of digging them up and doing DNA tests and thinking that it's probably not true, just like all the other times they've dug up air. But I'm here to tell you they were digging, and I viewed both sites, they were digging 3/4 of a mile away from that grave, okay? And I've more or less located the grave from what's on the Pines card, which is a map to the grave of Donna Lass, and the Mary Pilker Christmas card details the carrying of the body to the site where they buried her, out back in the snow. And Frank gave me a set of clues to go up there and find that grave, and they're on my video about Donna Lass's burial site. I hope this helps you to understand this D.B. Cooper thing and this whole Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers thing. Y'all have a good day. Thank you very much for watching. Please give me some thumbs up, and watch the rest of my videos. There's a lot of information in there. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and piece things back together and keep bringing you more videos where the information is compacted enough to kind of make it easier to get the big picture, and then you can go watch each individual video and get the smaller pictures. Thank you.